Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Katie and I'll be your host. Today we are presenting DocuSign's new platform, Extensions, What You Need to Know. The webinar is being recorded, so all lines have been muted. Before we get started, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll bring them up during the Q&A portion of the presentation. I'll now pass it off to one of our SEAL experts, Joe DePew, for introductions.
Thanks so much, Katie. Good morning, everyone. We are really excited to be here with you today talking about DocuSign's new AI-powered platform extensions, Total Search and Intelligent Insights, both powered by SEAL software. As Katie mentioned, my name's Joe DePew. I'm a manager on our Strategic Alliances team at SEAL, and I'll be providing today's overview. With me is Senior Solutions Consultant Tom Radoychek, who's going to bring us through a product demonstration toward the end of the call today. Just really quick, what we're going to cover today, a brief history of SEAL software, the DocuSign and SEAL partnership. We're going to touch on DocuSign's system of agreement, most specifically the managed portion, as well as go into the product's Total Search and Intelligent Insights. We'll also go over a couple of quick case studies, and then as I mentioned earlier, Tom will provide a demonstration of the products at the end of the call. So moving into SEAL software, right? What is SEAL software? SEAL software is an AI-driven content discovery and analytics platform built for the enterprise. Before we jump into this, it's really important to address some different types of AI and what people think about AI, and just want to clearly define this, and I'm going to do it as quickly as I possibly can. We could obviously spend an entire hour talking about artificial intelligence, but what I really want to focus on is the difference between cognitive artificial intelligence and narrow artificial intelligence. So cognitive artificial intelligence is the ability for a software or hardware system to process and understand information and then make decisions across many topics. So cognitive AI takes sights, sounds, motion, knowledge, etc., and processes this information to make a determination or create an output of some kind, right? This emulates the thinking that humans do. And so when people think about AI today, they generally think about Skynet robots from the Terminator movie, right? Or maybe a little less aggressive would be a self-driving car from Tesla, or Alexa ordering you your favorite pizza. While these are really helpful and really a ways off in terms of practical application across broad sets of topics, narrow artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is the application of similar AI technologies to specific use cases. This is where humans work to teach a system to evaluate information and categorize specific data. In the context of SEAL, DocuSign, Total Search, and Intelligent Insights, this specific type of data happens to be unstructured data found in contractual documents. SEAL's industry-leading platform was built upon a foundation of AI, machine learning, natural language processing, and latent semantic indexing to bring value to its users and to its clients. They weren't an afterthought that was sprinkled in over time to add value here and there. They are, in fact, the foundation upon which we built our platform. Just to highlight a couple points, natural language processing, you heard me mention. Really, very simply, it's how we ask questions and receive answers in natural language formats. It's very similar to the way we use internet search engines like Google, Yahoo, or Bing. Latent semantic indexing is a little bit more of a mouthful, but really is used to quantify the intent of language, right? An example we like to use is a most favored nation clause. Very rarely do the words most favored and nation appear in a most favored nation clause. It could say something like preferred customer status. However, SEAL is able to identify the intent of the language. So that's what latent semantic indexing is. We've been doing this for our clients and started SEAL in 2010. Since then, we've processed over 50 million contracts. This makes SEAL not only the most comprehensive contract discovery and analytics application in the market, but also a platform with rapid time to value. A key differentiator for SEAL has been its patented non-standard clause detection. This capability allows customers to teach the system what its standard language is, and in turn, SEAL can take that lesson and apply it to all contracts in the environment, as well as any net new contracts that come into the environment. It will identify where standards exist, flag and score non-standard clauses, and even show you the variance in the language side by side in the contract itself. SEAL continues to be the industry-leading platform to search, extract, analyze and leverage unstructured data so that we can enforce positive business outcomes and make more informed, data-driven decisions when faced with challenging questions. And we do this for a host of customers across a variety of industries, from some of the world's largest financial services companies to some of the largest high-tech companies, as well as some of the largest industrial manufacturers in the world. Seal brings value to all of these organizations by providing a window of holistic visibility into their portfolio of agreements and portfolio of contracts. Where we typically start with our customer is asking some really seemingly simple questions, right? How many contracts do we have? Where are our contracts located? As simple as these questions seem, they're actually very, very complex to answer, right? And this is due to a fragmented system of agreement found across most companies and organizations. Different lines of business managing their own line of business applications and storing the data in disparate data silos across the enterprise. That's where a non-centralized version or a non-centralized view of contracts makes it really difficult to start answering the questions you see on your screen. An example of one of those questions comes to us from like a procurement scenario, right? So if you have a host of non-centralized, non-searchable documents, it can be really cumbersome for you to answer a question like which supplier agreements have auto-renewal clauses and when they renew. If you could, please keep this example in the back of your mind, as this is what we're going to be showing you throughout the demonstration when I pass it over to Tom. So in order to modernize these systems of agreements, DocuSign announced its system of agreements, right? An end-to-end process and platform that will allow users to better prepare, sign, act, and manage on the contracts and agreements that are the lifeblood of their business. Before this, all of this was manual. Everything had to be done repetitively, lots of overlap, right? So with the system of agreement, most specifically the managed portion, Seal has been brought in to create two agreements and create processes that will power your business moving forward. The first step to seeing and realizing the managed portion of the system of agreement is centralizing all of your agreements. So organizations that have DocuSign sometimes have multiple instances of DocuSign across the business. Perhaps HR has one, legal might have their own that they maintain, and the sales side might have one that they maintain. We need to bring all of those instances into one view and bring those all into Seal, which is what you can see on the left side of your screen there. On the right side of your screen, we also need to bring in all the other data sources to the same location and make all those documents searchable so that we have an aggregate view of what our agreement portfolio looks like. Some of our clients even have contracts all in one place. So an example from the right side of your screen, they may not be in 4 different places. They may be in one place, just like SharePoint, right? But our clients still use Seal to gain access to the unstructured and the key and critical clauses within those agreements that would otherwise take large amounts of manual intervention to surface. So once we centralize all of these different types of agreements and envelopes to one dynamic location, we can begin searching our agreements. And this is what we're really excited to start talking about today, is DocuSign's Total Search. And this is the process by which Seal centralizes, or Total Search, powered by Seal, centralizes all envelopes and contracts from disparate repositories to a single dynamic location. So as part of this process, Total Search will OCR every document that comes in and render it fully searchable. From there, Seal will identify contract types as well as duplicates within the environment. This will give you a better view into where you could be double paying, where there could be added risk based on duplicate contracts. It's important to mention that whenever a contract or envelope is centralized into Total Search, all the metadata associated with each envelope and contract will be captured and configured in Total Search. This will help avoid a loss of data integrity. So while that we have everything within Total Search, we can start to search across the full agreement set. That is to say that opposed to searching for clauses and data points in each individual agreement, Total Search will allow us to interrogate all contracts and agreements in the environment to find what you're looking for. So we're going to jump back a little, or not jump back really, but I want you to keep thinking about that procurement question. So now that we've got everything into Seal, we want to filter our documents to our key supplier agreements that we've identified. And then from there, we want to start searching for auto renewal clauses that are in an unstructured state within those agreements. And then once we've identified the auto renewal clauses, we want to layer on metadata that was captured at the envelope level to really drill down on our analysis. This is what we're going to do and show you in the demonstration. Now that we've centralized all of our agreements and we're able to fully search those agreements, we can move into Intelligent Insights. So Intelligent Insights is the second offering powered by Seal within DocuSign's platform extension program. All capabilities from Total Search carry over and into Intelligent Insights. So what Intelligent Insights does, it begins with AI term extraction, right? So Intelligent Insights will automatically begin identifying over 20 business terms right out of the box. Terms like contracting parties, start dates, end dates, limitation of liability. After terms are extracted, clauses can be compared side by side to identify where language is deviated. This is where end users can begin teaching the machine what its standard clauses look like. We talked about that at the beginning, standard clause detection. So this is where humans teach the machine to recognize what a standard looks like to them, and then go out and interrogate all of the data in the environment to identify anything that is non-standard. It will also do that on any net new contract or document that comes in. So this is what this is the high end, if you will, right? So this is the DocuSign Intelligent Insights. This is what we're really excited to bring to market with DocuSign as a partner. And once again, back to our procurement question. Now that we've centralized all of our documents, we've rendered them fully searchable, and we've started doing some basic searches, where Intelligent Insights differs is that the machine actually will start doing the searches for you. So things like extracting an auto renewal clause and the term of that auto renewal based on the intent of the language, and then do a side-by-side doc comparison to understand the variability in those terms. And then from there, with Intelligent Insights, we can start to do things like create BI reports to visualize our findings. Another key differentiator for Intelligent Insights is the ability to run a signature audit on agreements. So you can start to see which of your contracts are actually DocuSign and which might be going through other workflows or processes that are slowing your business down. So with the ability to capture terms out of the box and provide visibility into terms ongoing, Seal's users can also create custom policies based on some of their questions or some ad hoc need that they may have, right? And this makes the platform very, very agile and able to cover a wide set of use cases. Things like negative events. They always talk, or it's always talked about today, it's not a question of if, but a question of when. And do you know what your notification obligations are to your customers or your suppliers in the event of a data breach, or which vendors or suppliers might have access to personally identifiable information? All of that information is buried within your unsearchable, non-centralized contracts, right? It also slows you down when you're trying to keep pace with regulatory change. Really, really hot topic right now is GDPR, right? Can I comply with new privacy laws and new data sharing laws that are prevalent in GDPR? These are complex questions that you have to ask about your contracts. And without a tool like Intelligent Insights or Total Search at your disposal, you have a Herculean manual effort of sifting through individual contracts to identify individual data points. Once we've gone through these exercises and we've found our results, we can start to put these into visual reporting tools. Seal or Intelligent Insights and Total Search uses Sisense. And what we do here is drill down the data, things like payment terms, renewal notice, as we mentioned earlier, and we put them into graphs, whether it be a graph, pie chart, bar chart, whatever you might need, as well as show where the data source came from down at the bottom. So another way that we can really start sharing information and get that holistic view into what our corpus of agreements looks like. Jumping into a quick case study, this is from one of our large financial services organizations. The case study, they needed documents pulled in from a legacy procurement system. These documents were non-searchable PDF formats, and they were having trouble keeping pace and getting visibility into the contracts when they needed it, right? So before Seal, and there was manual analysis being conducted on payment terms, auto renewals, like we mentioned earlier, and expiration dates, right? So Seal was actually able to deliver value to this project in 4 months, where it had been estimated at 2 years to completion. Due to our success on that use case, we were actually expanded to a different part of the business at this company to assist with the divestiture, where Seal looked through thousands of contracts to identify specific clauses that could affect a divestiture negatively or positively, but needed access to that information quickly so that nothing fell off the rails. Some other high-level snapshots from some of the industries we serve. Fortune 100 life sciences company with billions in dollars in spend, looking at ways to save money. They decided to analyze payment terms from their key supplier agreements, and using Seal, found that there was a deviation in the payment terms that were contracted for. They were paying their suppliers early as opposed to the net 30 they had contracted for. And this ended up identifying an annual working capital savings in excess of $400 million. For a large telco company here in the United States, they were managing over 600,000 lease agreements for cell towers. As part of a cost savings initiative, they wanted to aggregate and centralize all of these leases and identify favorable terms like early termination, right to decommission, rent reduction, to really underpin that cost reduction program. And they were able to identify over $100 million in cost savings tied to early termination opportunities in those lease agreements. For a Fortune 100 tech company, it was actually a divestiture type of activity where they divested into 2 different companies and used Seal to sort through 400,000 agreements to identify assignment clauses across those agreements and then assign the contract to the proper entity. So that's really a high-level snapshot of Seal software, total search, intelligent insights, and the idea behind the partnership. This is where I'm going to turn it over to Tom and let him walk you through some of the product capabilities and then jump into a demonstration from here. So I'll pass it over to you now, Tom.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Before we transition to the demonstration, I wanted to cover this single slide that you see on my screen to provide additional context to what you're going to see during the presentation. So as Joe had mentioned, we've developed 2 offerings in conjunction with DocuSign that he touched on. Total Search, starting over here on the left-hand side. Total Search provides for the import and capture of all envelope data, including envelope history and associated documents, while presenting that information in a structured format and making it available for analysis within Seal software. The import process is triggered when a DocuSign envelope has reached completed status, or in other words, when the signing workflow is completed. During the import, the solution will first OCR the documents associated with an envelope or envelopes, rendering them completely searchable. Then the envelope data in the documents are imported to a single centralized repository, allowing users to quickly query, filter, or search using a variety of search techniques to surface the envelope metadata or the information contained within the documents themselves. And then for legacy documents, the solution allows for the import of agreements from existing third-party repositories such as Box or SharePoint, which could be stored across a customer's enterprise. Moving over here to, on the right-hand side, to Intelligent Insights. Intelligent Insights includes all the functionality included with the Total Search offering, which I just covered. But when advanced analytics or categorization is required, the Intelligent Insights offering can include predefined terms, automatically extracting those obligations and provisions from the document language using a combination of AI technologies, again, which Joe touched upon earlier, such as machine learning, semantic indexing, as well as natural language processing. The solution then adds the extracted obligations into structured fields, which enables fast and efficient visibility, searching and analysis, as well as BI reporting against the DocuSign envelope data and the business terms contained within the document. The Intelligent Insight solution also allows for the creation of new policies and algorithms, so users can extract custom terms based on specific requirements. And then in addition to those predefined terms and custom terms, customers have the ability to add pre-built compliance packs such as GDPR or other industry packs to address specific use cases. So with all that information as a background, let's go ahead and take a look at the solution. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I'm going to play the role of a vendor. I'm going to sign an envelope containing an agreement that's been sent by my customer, and after we have completed the signing workflow, the integration process is going to be initiated to import the envelope data and the corresponding agreement. So I have the envelope in my inbox. What I'm going to do here is I'll quickly review the agreement, and I'll electronically sign it via DocuSign. And then we'll use that agreement to analyze the results in the managed environment, which I'll transition to here shortly. So in this case, I have my master agreement. I'll go ahead and initiate the signing workflow here. I have some information that I might need to enter as part of this process, such as my title. So I'll go ahead and enter that into the field. And I'll go ahead and sign the agreement itself. Once I've finished signing, I'll click the Finish button here. And then DocuSign is going to give me a message here saying that I've signed it. And at this point in the demonstration, what's happening behind the scenes is Seal is processing this agreement, this envelope and the agreement. It's extracting all the intelligence from the agreement, such as the terms that are part of the agreement, start dates, termination dates, auto renewal language is an example, which we'll focus on. And at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and transition into Seal software. And we'll take a look at the Manage application. So what you're looking at right now is the Contracts tab, which is our view of the contractual information in the solution. This user interface is essentially a window into your agreement and your DocuSign envelope metadata. On the left-hand side of the interface is where users will first search or filter the information they wish to analyze. And on the right-hand side of the interface is where your query results will be presented. Once the import process is complete, all the business rules will have been run on the server side to import the DocuSign envelope data and then extract the intelligence from your agreements, which I had previously mentioned. So the first thing a user will want to do to analyze their agreement is to search for specific terms by either performing a text-based search or filtering using the Filter by Analytic Category section over here on the left-hand side. Because I've not yet initiated a query, you can see that I have a total of 3,349 agreements in the repository. And as soon as the envelope that I just signed is completed processing, we'll see that imported into the solution here. And in support of this webinar, so no private information or private data has been exposed. Now, before we open up a document and review the results, what I'd like to do first is illustrate some query techniques that you can initiate to narrow down or triage a subset of documents that you'd like to review. So for this demonstration, I'm going to play the role of a procurement lead, and my goal is to ensure the provision of goods or services in the most cost-effective manner for my organization. And then during day-to-day operations, I need to analyze various range of data. So for this specific exercise, I want to gain visibility into my auto renewal obligations for a specific supplier. As you would expect, you could enter in keywords or phrases in the search field up here on the upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to conduct a Boolean search for the words renew and agreement for a specific supplier. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm typing in the words renew and agreement. And out of the 3,379 agreements, you could see that the solution has produced my query results to equal 379. So what that means is there are 379 agreements where the words renew and agreement are found within somewhere within the agreements themselves. And as you can see here, Seal has quickly surfaced 379 documents where the words renew and agreement are found somewhere within the four corners. So I want you to remember that number, 379. Okay, so that's conducting a Boolean search. You can conduct other types of searches here, such as proximity searches, finding a couple of words within proximity of one another. We can conduct other types of searches such as stem and no stem, as well as fuzzy logic searches as well. Another way to gain visibility into the data is to filter against the available categories that you see here below. So for example, if I have an agreement that was just electronically signed, I can filter against that DocuSign metadata to surface a specific envelope. And then here you can see on the left-hand corner, I can filter based on the envelope history data, such as the envelope status, the signing location, signing date, etc. So for example, if I were to expand this category here, I can filter against the date timestamp of a completed envelope. And if I were to select one of these based on a specific date timestamp, you can see that the solution returns a single agreement based on my selection criteria. The same can be applied to any type of custom fields that might be added to the DocuSign signing workflow. So any type of custom fields would also, you could also filter or search upon those as well. We also categorize agreements as part of the import process. So as an example, if I wanted to review a specific type of agreement, such as a master agreement, I could expand the contract class category. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see all the different categorizations of agreements that I have in my system here. And again, if I wanted to specifically review master agreements, I could select that from my category list here. And as a result, you can see that I have 392 agreements out of the 3,300 or so agreements that are categorized as master agreements. Okay, and then during the import process, you heard me previously say that agreements can be automatically ingested from a variety of sources and then centralized into the managed application. So in addition to importing DocuSign envelopes and corresponding documents, business rules on the server side can identify where the agreements originated from, those legacy agreements. So for example, if I were to expand the reference category here, I could then filter for information from a specific source. So in this particular case, if I wanted to surface all my agreements that originated from Box as an example, I could select that criteria. And now you can see that I have 25 agreements that originated from that source. And I could drill down into those agreements and then analyze the extracted terms if that intelligence is important to me. Okay. One other thing I wanted to quickly point out here is if I scroll down to our legal terms category, this is where you're going to notice the analytics or the terms that have been enabled in the system. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see that this is a very powerful way to gain visibility into the obligations that are contained within your agreement simply by filtering the specific term you wish to analyze. Now, when we filter using analytics, we're not just looking for specific word matches. As you saw when I conducted a Boolean search for the words renew and agreement. Instead, with these legal terms, the solution is looking at different ways that the obligations can be written, and it picks up on the intent of the language and all the different forms of meaning, and then it presents it to the user. So, for example, in the use case of a procurement user, let's just say that I wanted to, again, review my auto renewal obligations. I could select auto renewal from my legal terms here, and I can see where the language has been identified and extracted from these 525 documents. Now, you remember when I conducted a Boolean search, the system returned 379 documents. The difference here is analytics are pre-trained, and we use a combination of AI technology such as machine learning, natural language processing, and latent semantic indexing, which I previously mentioned, to automate the extraction process based on language intent. Keyword or phrase searching is very powerful. However, what I'm doing here and what you can see here is I'm casting my net wider by filtering on my auto renewal term here within our legal terms section. Okay. One other point I wanted to quickly make is the solution also allows for the creation of new terms and algorithms so that organizations can then extract language based on their requirements and their use cases, and the use cases there are completely unlimited. In addition to the predefined terms, which you are seeing here on my screen, and the custom terms, which I'd mentioned, customers also have the ability to add pre-built compliance packs, such as GDPR or other industry packs. And if I expand the GDPR section, you can see some of the terms that we include as I scroll down here for GDPR. So those can be added as well, in addition to the standard terms that we provide and the custom terms that customers can create. Okay, next, what I'd like to do here, now that I've selected my auto renewal term, I can narrow down my query by reviewing all my auto renewal obligations for a specific supplier. So for example, with auto renewal already selected as a filter, I could begin typing, for example, contracting parties. Okay. And once I type contracting parties in the search box and then enter a specific supplier, in this case, I want to enter in the supplier that we just imported the contract from. In this case, it's Region Metals. So essentially, just with a few clicks, what I was able to do was just very quickly narrow down my query result to a couple of agreements where auto renewal language has been identified for a specific supplier. And again, when you think about doing this, the traditional method, you would have to review agreements individually to find those results or to find that language within the agreements, whereas we're using artificial intelligence to surface all this data for you by using Seal software. Now that we've triaged our agreement, what I can do at this point is I can essentially drill down into these agreements to then analyze the results. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill into the agreement that we just imported from DocuSign. So I'll click on my MSA, and from here, when a user clicks on the document, there's a couple of views that they can see. So as an example, I can review the envelope data, the DocuSign envelope data, by clicking the drop-down. And this abstract view is presented, providing visibility into the envelope data that was migrated from DocuSign, such as the envelope ID, the recipient company names, recipient usernames, titles, etc. when it was sent. All that information is retained as part of the process. This detail then provides for the ability for users to view or run statistics on this data. So for example, How long did it take the user to sign the agreement? Are there bottlenecks in our signing process that we need to address in order to make it more efficient, as an example? In addition to having the ability to review the DocuSign envelope data, users can also review the language and terms Seal has automatically extracted via artificial intelligence, which can be accessed via the business terms view. Okay, so now that I've switched to my business terms view, you can see some of the terms represented here below. So here we can see, as an example, anti-bribery, assignment provisions, if I continue to scroll down, governing law, jurisdiction, limitation of liability, auto renewal, most favored nation, and all the other terms that we've extracted as part of the process. Again, if you remember that I had mentioned to you, what I'd mentioned to you previously, we also categorized the agreement. So again, in this case, this is a master agreement. If I scroll down even further, I could see some additional terms that we've extracted: indemnity, governing law, and you could see multiple extractions in some of these cases. So here we can scroll down even further and see some additional information: limitation of liability, non-solicitation, etc. So now that we have all this information at our fingertips, again, what we can do is, in addition to extracting the language, we also call out which page number and which section number this obligation was extracted from within this agreement that we have highlighted. And I could click on this jump to link that you see here. If I were to click on this, essentially what's going to happen is the system is going to open up an HTML rendition of the process agreement that I have highlighted. And from this agreement, this jump to link essentially is going to highlight our auto renewal obligation that we've extracted, and it's going to immediately call the user's attention to it. So again, this is a very quick way to view the extracted obligations from within your agreement, simply by using our AI technology to extract the information so that you can quickly review it, as opposed to manually reviewing the documents to find those obligations from within your agreements. Okay, one other additional capability to highlight here is the ability to perform advanced analysis across the extracted data. And I could view multiple agreements in a side-by-side comparison. And this view can be quickly initialized by selecting two or more documents by clicking the checkboxes over here on the left-hand side of the interface. So I'm going to select the Region Metals MSA as well as this amendment to this MSA. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see how the auto renewal language varies from the master agreement to the amendment to this MSA. Okay, so what I've done here is I've quickly selected our side-by-side comparison button, and I could quickly see that both the master agreement and the amendment, if I were to scroll down a little bit here in our auto renewal section, I could quickly see that just by eyeballing it, that some of the terms are a little different from the master agreement to the amendment. And if I were to click this difference button that you see here and scroll back down to our auto renewal provision, you can see how the variances in the language have changed from the master agreement to the amendment itself. So in the master agreement, we can see that we both have an initial term in the master agreement and the amendment of initial 3-year term. The master agreement is going to automatically renew for a 1-year term, automatically renew for 3-year term after the initial 1-year term, whereas the amendment has language indicating it's going to renew for 2 years after the initial term. And then notice of intent to renew the agreement must be made at least 30 days prior to contract expiration, and then 60 days, as you can see in the amendment. So by using this side-by-side comparison feature, users can quickly compare and analyze provisions in business terms across common suppliers, across the same suppliers, across customers, products, or regions, as an example, saving valuable review time while then identifying risks or revenues or opportunities for revenue. Okay, so now that we've seen the data within the DocuSign and Seal environments, let's take a look at how that data can be visualized via an API reporting tool. Okay, so the Manage solution includes a BI reporting tool as part of its standard offering. BI dashboards are completely customizable, and you can create views or widgets similar to what you see on my screen to expose the information that you want to visualize within the environment, including the DocuSign envelope metadata and the extracted business terms from your agreements. The BI tool enables users to visually see the data, but then also drill down into specific data elements. And a dashboard user can come in and say, for example, show me the agreements that are due for auto renewal this year. In the dashboard example you see on my screen, you can see that specific data elements such as payment terms, as an example, auto renew, renewal terms, renewal notice, renewal year, etc., and so on. So if you have a procurement use case where you want to understand all of your contracts coming up for auto renewal across the supplier base, this is a very quick and easy way to then visualize the data. So as a procurement lead, I can select, as an example, auto renew equal to yes, and to visualize all the agreements that are due to auto renew, or in other words, contain an auto renew obligation somewhere from within the agreements themselves that we've extracted as part of the process. Next, I can layer on the renewal term to show, for example, all agreements with a renewal term of 1 year. So to build on this, I can click into the 1 year renewal term. And then to take this again a step further, what I can do here is I can select, for example, the renewal date as an example. So if I were to move down and select our renewal date, I can select, as an example, 2012 or 2014, 2018, and I could select those, and all the other widgets on the page will be updated accordingly as part of the process. So literally what I've done here is I've shown you how to drill into these dashboards to then expose your auto renewal language and then see that within context of the information that we extracted from the agreements themselves. So this concludes our demonstration of the managed solution. In summary, as documents and data are migrated from DocuSign to Seal or from third-party sources, the information now becomes fully searchable, visible, and reportable, providing users the capability to quickly surface information, enabling efficient review and analysis of that data. It makes that information visible via a number of different technologies, such as optical character recognition, extraction capability via machine learning, natural language processing, and latent semantic indexing. And it also enables users to create their own business terms from scratch to surface information based on specific requirements. And then finally, it gives users the ability to analyze the data in a BI reporting engine similar to what you're viewing on my screen. So with that, we'll hand it back for any Q&A.
It looks like we had a few questions come in from the audience. Joe, did you want to go ahead and take on the Q&A proportion of the webinar?
Oh, thanks, Katie. Yeah, I'm just navigating this questions tab really quick. I opened a chat, I think, which is different.
Sure. I can go ahead and get started if you want, or go ahead and let me know.
I've got it. So one of the questions we've got is, how do you import legacy contracts into the solution? This is more of a technical question. Tom, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, sure, Joe. So with regard to legacy agreements, essentially what we'll do is we'll typically, our best practice recommendation is to upload those legacy agreements into an FTP folder, which we provide with the solution itself. That's the most common way and the most efficient way to do it. But essentially, what we would do is point seal to that FTP folder and then ingest those agreements as part of that import process. And then it works the same way as you saw with the DocuSign import. Essentially, once the import is initiated by seal and we've pointed seal to that FTP folder, we'll process the agreement. We'll extract the relevant information. All the business rules will run on the server side to extract all the relevant obligations, and then present that information to the user in order to search and filter and analyze their agreement.
Joe, did you have any additional questions that were coming through the webinar Q&A proportion box?
Yeah, so are users able to create custom terms to extract details from agreements? So yeah, actually, custom fields can be created by end users with little to no development effort. The reason we make this available is because Seal has never actually claimed to be subject matter experts, right? We're really good at technology. We're not really good at what your business is or what some of your needs are. And that can be very specific contract language that we might not have visibility into. However, allowing you to create those fields for ad hoc queries or risk mitigation or exercises is something that you can absolutely do within the platform. Did I miss anything there, Tom? Do you want to add anything to that, or?
No, I think you covered that well, Joe. Again, the only thing that I would add there is that the use cases are completely unlimited as far as creating custom rules to extract the information. So, as an example, users can create, commercial liability insurance terms or rules to extract that relevant data from your agreements. And I'm just using that as an example, but the use cases are completely unlimited.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Another question we had come in, curious if you can search for a supplier by their DUNS number or a vendor number, an example of which being an SAP vendor number. Tom, do you want to jump into that?
Yeah, sure. So the short answer to that is generally if that is a DUNS number will not be presented within the contractual agreement itself. So for any information that might fall outside of the four corners of the agreement, what we can do is we can create specific fields within Seal to retain that specific information, and we call those fields playbook fields. So a playbook field can be applied to that abstract view, which I showed you previously in the demonstration, where you can then filter on that DUNS number or that vendor number and find that information very quickly and easily through the search or the filter panel that I showed you earlier. So you can easily filter against those playbook fields to surface that information that might be associated with a specific agreement.
Excellent. That looks like all of the questions that came through. So, yeah, that's all the questions we have for today.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We appreciate you taking the time. The recording will be made available shortly, and thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everybody.